Hey guys, and welcome to a showdown featuring Ben the Barman and his hordes of disgusting Skaven up against Iron General and his glorious Beastmen, who are equally disgusting and horrible. So there's going to be a matchup here of the very wide formations as to be expected between two such factions, and we have some pretty interesting stuff. But let's dive in first and foremost into the Skaven Forces. We have some Gutter Runners and Night Runners protecting the flanks, same on both sides. They can do some pretty decent skirmish all round. They do have a pretty short range. However, their missile damage does okay up against the lightly armoured Beastmen all round, and they're pretty tricky to catch as well. We have Skaven slaves dotted across the front line, meat sacks here to take the initial charge and soak up some of that damage, with the more elite clan rats and council guard, regiment of renowned storm vermin, in the secondary line. In deep reserve, we do have a couple units of rat ogres, a fantastic counter initiative unit all round. You kind of wait to see where your opponent chucks their big creatures, their big monsters, and rat ogres are incredibly fast. At least, 4 kind of monstrous infantry. They dart across the battlefield, pin them in, and help you swing the tide with the numbers advantage. We also have a gigantic hell pit abomination, one of the most disgusting creatures in the old and the new world. And yeah, it does a pretty decent job. It has regeneration, causes terror, is armor piercing, and of course is too horrible to die. We do have double assassins with Lord Skrulk for the hero core, quite a common pick all round. You can see rival Hide Talisman, I believe the name is. Let's go in here and have a quick look. Yes, Rival Hide Talisman for minus 40 melee attack, the area around it, and it does last for 31 seconds, which is pretty crazy stuff. Of course, they come in with the usual character assassination abilities as well. And we have little Lord Skrulk here, looking pretty disgusting as usual, with the Liber Bubonicus, as well as Rod of Corruption, a very competitive pick, and all round, I'm quite a big fan of this Skaven build. It looks like in deep reserve, oh no, we have Beastmen on the flank. So that is going to be it for the Skaven Force, with a nice summon in the front line of Clan Rats as well. Now for the Beastmen, we have a very interesting build. He's got incredibly wide here, with Gore herds mixed in with triple gold chevron Ungor herds. I need to check the value of these guys at the end of the battle. They're going to be dotted all the way along here, mixing with the Gores on the flanks. It'll be very interesting to see having cheap units kind of pimped up massively. And they've got pretty decent stats all round now. 34 melee attack and 31 defense isn't great, but it does improve their leadership, and that should hopefully keep them fighting a little bit longer. In the secondary line, we have a ton of Ungor raiders, good consistent damage over the course of the battle, and incredibly cheap and cheerful. For a hero core, we do have a British Shaman of Death on a chariot, coming in with Spirit Leech. It looks like aspect of the Dread Knight. Let's have a quick double check. Doom and Darkness, and yeah, aspect of the Dread Knight. We also have Morga the Sherigave, of course. Not much I need to say about him. Comes with a load of spawn summons. And there's definitely the most competitive Beastman pick by far. On the right hand side, we have Chaos Warhounds with Poison Rolling Dirty with some Centaurs, and the same on the other flank. So without further ado, guys, let's hop in here and get this battle started. So in come the Ungor herds, charging headlong into glorious combat, but very well played here instantly by the Skaven, counter-charging with the Rat Ogres. Going to do some decent damage before falling back once more, as the Ungor Raiders are here to kind of counter the counter, I suppose, and start pinning and whittling these guys down. They only have 30 armor, which isn't crazy. So in retaliation here, Ben the Barman is going to summon some Plague Monks into the back line to hunt down the Ungor Raiders, but the Raiders are relatively quick and should be able to kind of out-skirmish these guys for the most part. Lord Skrulk is getting danger closer to the enemy. Looks like he was wanting to pop a Liber Bubonicus down on the Brave Shaman of Death and force him back with some assassins as well. And over on the other flank, pretty similar stuff is going down. Ungor herds are slowly chewing through the Clan Rats and Skaven slaves, while assassins and Night Runners and Gutter Runners kind of counter-initiate a lot of these fights. The Council Guard on the right-hand side are holding bravely up against Gore herds, and they will slowly get dragged down by numbers, but they should be able to trade relatively cost-effectively. And the back lines, a combination of Chaos Warhounds and Centaurs, are pushing back the Gutter Runners, doing some pretty decent work all round, chasing those guys away from the main battlefield. However, it is distracting them, I suppose, from getting into any really key engagements. Looks like the Assassin did manage to catch the Brave Shaman, at least for a decent amount of time. Assassin's Trophy was popped on him there, and he has been forced off, but he should be able to return rather nifty and fast on that chariot, helping him pull away. Looks like some Rat Ogres are considering going to chase, but it's going to be a little bit slow on their behalf. Some Chaos Spawn have been summoned here to protect Morga the Shadow Gave, and Lord Skrulk, very wisely, is going to be leaping out of there as quickly as possible, realising the situation looks rather bleak, and this big kind of death blob of Chaos Spawn is going to start pushing its way to the Hell Pit Abomination. Now, this is a really key moment for the Beastmen in general. They need to make good use of these spawn, because as soon as they go, that is going to be a ton of value lost instantly. So they are trying to get a nice round on the Hell Pit, and Spawn do okay up against such targets. A lovely surround is coming in here with some Gore Hoods, or these Ungors. Looks like Gores pinning in the Council Guard, slowly dragging them down. Centaurs as well have returned to the field. Sorry about the drilling sound in the background there. Our next door neighbour is having some work done, rather annoyingly, but you know, it's hopefully it won't distract too much. Ungors here, up to 97 kills, certainly carrying their weight in gold so far, but it looks like a lot of their kills are up against Skaven slaves. Hopefully these guys will be a little bit durable because of those chevrons as the battle does go on. Centaurs desperately trying to shut down the Gutter Runner play. Looks like they have managed to break their way through. Gutter Runners are on skirmish perhaps. No, looks like they are going to turn and fight this. Centaurs more than happy here to drag those guys down into the abyss. The hero core of the Skaven is still pretty strong here, trying to float back and perhaps assassinate the Bray Shaman. So it looks like one of the assassins has taken a little bit of damage. Hell Pit Abomination does have Doom and Darkness popped on him. Really well played here by the Beastmen, lowering that leadership and making it waver, but a quick escape is coming in from the Hell Pit, and it looks like it should be able to flee, regenerate up, and get to the safety, or I suppose there's not too much safety left for the Skaven, unfortunately. Hopefully just get away from the big old death blob and try and mix it up a little bit. Over in the far side, Council Guard still going strong. 57 kills isn't too bad, although they are about to receive a big old charge from the Bray Shaman of Death. But he has been levered himself, and it looks like he's going to be finished off here, down to 57 health, and down he goes, collapsing under the weight of the mighty plague. You'd think Beastmen would be pretty good at dealing with plagues and the like, perhaps even get some buffs for it, but I suppose it's a different type of plague to ones that they're used to. Centaurs and it looks like some Ungor herds with aspect of the Dread Knight popped on them pretty funnily. Are going to be running in to try and surround the Hell Pit Abomination, but it's going pretty strong. Balance power is in the Beastmen favour despite the fact that they have lost their summons. It's always good to see a Beastmen build as well, not kind of spamming Manticores and Cygor summons. Gutter Runners are going to be fleeing, they're nearly out of ammunition, but 48 kills is pretty decent stuff. However, Gore Herds and Ungors are pretty good to chase them, they are shielded and relatively cheap. And over in the distance, Hell Pit Abomination once again gets surrounded, but it's going to be falling back to the hero blob here. Stand Your Ground has been popped, and the assassins are not the best clearers of chaff. They may be able to do a number on Morga here, especially if they have their debuffs active still. Lord Skrulk doing a decent job as well, slowly dragging down Gore Herds and the like. In the far distance, the Rat Ogres are slowly being kind of picked apart here. They are slowly pushing their way through the Ungor herds, but Centaurs are nearby, should be able to use their mass to pin in the Rat Ogres and try and save the Ungor Raiders, who can then fall back and whittle them down with decent damage kind of consistently coming in. But in comes the Centaurs, and Rat Ogres don't have the best leadership, so I expect they will probably break to the mass of troops. In the main fight though, Skaven looking pretty dominant here for the most part. Hell Pit has managed to escape the main engagement, and honestly the longer the battle goes on, the better it goes for the Skaven really, as this Hell Pit can keep regenerating as much as possible. I'd keep it out of the final engagement for as long as possible. Council Guard are rallying as well here, 28 kills, they are rallying to Skrulk, and it looks like the Skaven are going to try and kind of centralise a lot of their forces here and pick apart the Beastmen. But the one problem they do have, they don't have too many really rapid units to chase down routing troops. We do have one instance of it here with Gore Herds being chased down by Gutter Runners, but if you look across the battlefield, there is a ton of rallying Beastmen, which does bode rather ill here for the Skaven, so perhaps a comeback is possible. Assassin's Trophies was popped on the Shadowgave himself, as the double assassins do attempt to assassinate him, but some very brave Ungors throwing their bodies on the line and pinning in these assassins and holding them back, allowing Morga to escape whilst that debuff is active on him. It looks like we do have Centaurs waiting in the wings as the Gore Herds do slowly come back. A couple of Hounds need to come back as well, but with so much micro going on, it is completely understandable if they do stick out there for a little while. Centaurs are trying to bomb rush the Gutter Runners where possible, which isn't a bad target here. Get rid of the chaff, you can slowly surround, then drag down the Council Guard and these characters. Although it looks like Centaur's not having the best of times here. Hell Pit Abomination does push them away. Archers probably want to focus down either the Hell Pit or the Council Guard, just get them off the field where you then can surround the single entities with the sheer weight of numbers. Centaurs did make a lucky escape there, and the Beastmen have now slowly kind of come together for what is undoubtedly going to be the final engagement here. Goreherds have managed to surround the Council Guard. 26's guys, of course, Unbreakable, will fight to the death here as they spin those halberds round, and actually looks like they might be able to fend off some Ungors as well. And that's something that's going to be pretty key into the late game here, is the Hell Pit Abomination's terror. If they can force off the Shadowgate in particular, that'd be fantastic, and would probably form some kind of chain route. We do have one assassin here, surrounded by Ungors, getting beat down. These guys, the Chevron does give them a little bit extra stability. I don't absolutely hate this idea here. It seems to be doing pretty decent work, keeping them here into the late game, allowing them to pin down at some of these key targets. Centaurs have chucked themselves into the Hell Pit Abomination, keeping them busy for a little while, as Assassin's Trophy once again pops down on Morga from the different assassin this time. A bit of Benny Hill is going to be played here, as Morga the Shadowgate needs to fall back once again. In the distance, looks like some Goreherds have been shattered. However, the Gutter Runners are now close to breaking themselves, as the Centaurs do dart in, desperately trying to save Morga the Shadowgate. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to have enough mass to pin in all those heroes. In the distance, it looks like one of the assassins has been forced back, left in combat a little bit too long up against the Ungors here. Looks like he was a bit trapped. Hell Pit did come over here in an attempt to save him, but it was a tiny bit too late here. The Hell Pit is now going to be darting over, trying to help finish off Morga and the Centaurs. And the Centaurs have been terrified here, which is pretty terrible for the forces of the Beastmen. Good play, bringing the Hell Pit over where it is needed. Imagine to pin in Morga, but no, the tricksy Beastman looks like he's going to be able to dart away here. Skrulk is very slow chasing him as well. He was bouncing around the battlefield a little bit earlier, but he is rather exhausted now, so it's kind of going to be a very slow pursuit. The Chaos Warhounds have come back as well, but instantly get terrified and shattered by the mere presence of the Hell Pit Abomination. We have more Centaurs coming back to the field, and it looks like Morga the Shadowgate, even with Assassin's Trophies on him, manages to help finish off the Hell Pit with the fire of the Ungor Raiders. We do have the Skaven Slave Spearman summon here. Luckily, the Hell Pit didn't kind of get that regen. Otherwise, I think it certainly would have been game over. But even with the Hell Pit going down, it's not looking fantastic for the Beastmen. Centaurs are being used to hunt down the assassin, which is some good play, and finish off any routing Skaven troops, which is a good idea. However, you can see a lot of the Beastmen troops have shattered themselves. The Ungors have decent ammunition though, which is pretty huge here in the late game. They can be used here to whittle down the Council Guard, who are just down to 2 models left. And once the Skaven slaves do disappear, I think the Beastmen will be in a decent position. It's just if Morga the Shadowgate gets assassinated before that can indeed happen. Looks like we have a summon of Plague Monks going down here, really chucking everything here into finishing off the Shadowgate, as those Plague Monks would have been used pretty effectively as well to kind of, in a late game situation, to pin in enemy troops, even drag down Centaurs, Goreherds, and Ungors and all such stuff. Now, good play by the Beastman, not wasting his ammunition on shooting into the Skaven slaves, instead pulling them back and wasting this summon. I mean, it did its job and helped pin in Morga, but well, it looks like he's actually going to take the charge here. Perhaps he thought they'd catch up. They are eager and only winded, I suppose, instead of exhausted. So one Ungor Raider is going to get sacrificed here, and completely shattered, in fact, by the Skaven slaves, but it is going to allow the one with slightly more ammunition to survive and come into the late game here. Balance power now is very heavily in favour of the Skaven at this point, mainly due to the summons on the field though, the Plague Monks and the like. It's been very back and forth game so far, but it's still incredibly close. Even with the Shadowgate going down, I think Beastmen still have a chance. There is a ton of Goreherds still left, or Goreherds and Ungor mix. They all do need to come back to the battle, and we still have the Ungor Raiders, and there's nothing left in the Skaven build that's going to be able to whip around a main engagement and shut those guys down. As you can see, Lord Skrulk only has 30 armor, which isn't great. I believe he does come in with some missile resistance. Yeah, 15 missile resistance, but only 20 armor. He is pretty susceptible to being sniped out here. Gutter Runners are going to force Morga off the field, which is pretty huge because, of course, he has regeneration, so it's going to be continually ticking up his health. Although Centaurs have managed to rally to him here, if they can break these Gutter Runners with a thunderous charge, flinging rats left, right, and centre, with them, it looks like they've completely shattered the Gutter Runners. They may be able to stabilise Morga here and keep themselves in a pretty healthy fight, because then he can just continue to run, continue to regen his health, and appear late game. His leadership is looking pretty stable at this point. Centaurs now charging into Lord Skrulk and the Council Guard, trying to keep them at bay and give a little bit of distance. And Morga has indeed rallied, which is pretty disastrous stuff here for the Skaven Forces. The Council Guard down to just 2 models, up to 97 kills. Can they get to 100 kills? Who knows? They are charging with Lord Skrulk, but it looks like it is 3 versus 222. Despite that, bounce power is still in the Skaven favour, and the Beastmen are pretty tattered at this point. This 71 unit of Ungors is going to be a pretty big problem, however, and the Centaurs, of course, can cycle charge, at least while they have other units engaged. Council Guard down to a lone model here, as he does stand against the tide of Beast Fins, but he is unfortunately slain here by a rather glorious Centaur who does fist pump the air there in celebration, as Morga does come in to help a duel against Skrulk. He's going to be applying that poison, which is always nice, and it looks like Lord Skrulk probably is a bit doomed here now. Look, what looked like a fantastic situation for the Skaven went against them here, simply due to the fact that, of course, summons do disappear, and he wasn't able to chase off the Shadow. Gave a very valiant defeat. Crazy close game there. Very well played to both Ben the Barman and Iron General, 2 veterans of the game, and very good players all round. And an extra shout out as well, of course, to Ben for sending this in via my Discord, which you can find a link to in the description down below. So I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, feel free to give the video a big old thumbs up and subscribe for more Total War Warhammer content. We should be having a live stream tonight as well. Fingers crossed if everything does go as planned at 6:30 PM British Summer Time. And that is going to be the Death Before Dishonor Grand Finals, this season's finals. It's pretty awesome stuff all round. Now, as for the build, these Gutter Runners did absolute carnage. 129 and 108 kills simply by consistently skirmishing the enemy, but at the same time, you know, those kills are kind of Gors and Ungors and the like, who aren't, you know, incredibly expensive. The double assassin Skrulk is a very kind of potent and deadly combination, very often seen in competitive play, and they did decent work, completely neutralising the Brave Shaman. I think he got like 1 or 2 spells off. He didn't manage to pull kind of his weight, really, kind of getting dragged down, and especially on the Charity can get a little bit pricey. And good play all round. Lovely to see 2 kind of high tier players play. You can see a lot of kind of counter charges and pulling troops back into the right positions. And yeah, it's always good to see, especially in the early game, where you saw kind of the summons from Ben come forward to block the charge of the Beastmen. The Rat Ogres then counter charge the front line, but in retaliation, the Ungor Raiders then pop up to shoot. And it's a real cool and fun kind of back and forth game all round. Anyway guys, hope you did enjoy. Until next time, peace, and as always, stay awesome.